The Era of Entertainment, a photo story based on the art of Toulouse-Lautrec. Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec was born in the year of 1864 to wealthy aristocrats in southwestern France. He had a very rare disease during his childhood that kept him confined to a bed in his family estate, and also stunted his growth. During his youth, he went through 2 accidents that broke his leg bones. Though his bones healed, his growth was permanently affected and his legs stopped growing. He would remain 4 foot 11 inches for the remainder of his life. While confined to his bed during childhood, Henri would entertain himself by playing with watercolors and drawing. When Henri walked, he did so with difficulty, using a cane as support. As a young adult, he went to Paris and studied with some of the best artists in France. He learned to use the ways of the Impressionists, such as en plein air, but soon developed his own style. In 1891, Henri painted an advertising poster for the Moulin Rouge, an extravagant nightclub with dancers. He took a very large interest in this world of entertainment and decided that he wanted to capture it in his paintings. He captured scenes from the circus, skating rinks, masked balls, and the theater. He reserved a table for himself nightly at the Moulin Rouge and painted his pictures the way he saw his subjects from the table. Toulouse-Lautrec said, "I have decided to draw something real, not ideal." During his art career, he was an alcoholic with a self-depreciated attitude, which caught up with him at a young age when he died at age 36 from a stroke. He was influenced by René Prince-Théo, his first teacher, who painted fashionable sporting pictures depicting horses. Henri took an interest in horses, which became his favorite animal to draw as a child. He drew and painted many horses throughout his art career. His condition, which he saw as a deformity, played a role in him choosing to paint many people from places such as nightclubs and brothels as his subjects. He chose people who were on the margin of society, just as he was. Japanese art had a style where famous actresses and actors were solely depicted, which Toulouse-Lautrec incorporated into his art, also doing many paintings that focus on and promote single entertainers. He influenced modern-day advertising by his very popular lithographs during his art career. He used a distinct, bold tone and graphic style. His signature style of using primary colors, yellow, blue, and red, are popular today in the entertainment industry's advertising posters. He also influenced later artists who painted pop culture, such as Andy Warhol. Side Saddle, 1899. The painting Side Saddle by Toulouse-Lautrec shows a woman in a blue dress and hat, riding a horse side saddle with a light backdrop making her stand out to the viewer. The woman and the horse are both facing the audience, and there is a lucid ebony outline surrounding both of them. The framework consists of many small, quick brushstrokes in white and yellow, creating an illusion of texture. The canvas is visible in the work, but not as much as the Impressionists. The head of the horse is bent at an odd angle and looks unproportional with the rest of its body, as well as the woman's head also being awkwardly proportioned, making the painting look unnatural upon close inspection. The Industrial Revolution was changing Europe in the 1800s, which is when Toulouse-Lautrec painted. Because of the revolution, more high and middle-class people, especially women, had the money and resources to enjoy leisure activities. Industrialization greatly improved the economy and allowed for a higher standard of living. Women would often engage in activities such as horseback riding, as seen in Side Saddle. The increase in free time and resources also led to an increase in population, because women had time to raise more children. This painting is a post-impressionist work of art. It was made with oil paints and pigments on a board. This sort of layering allowed for the colors to be richer in some areas, while dull in others. In the backdrop, there are very apparent yellow and white brushstrokes, which normally lead to the assumption that the work was completed quickly. However, the detail of the horse and shadowing around the horse's legs suggests that time was taken in completing Side Saddle. The lighter background works well against the darker, slightly duller foreground. There is an outline around the woman and her horse, and there is color contrast between the foreground and the background, both of which are characteristic of post-impressionism. When 2 colors are placed next to each other, and the eye is expected to blend them itself, this is called optical blending. This is seen in the background with the yellow and white, with small dashes of black and yellow, which darkens the whole background slightly. In the late 1800s, nightlife culture was becoming very popular for the aristocrats of France. Many spent the nights at these clubs, drinking and listening to loud music. The clubs became a social hangout for the upper classes of France. The cabaret was dedicated to the lower classes of France, including the pubs and bistros where the lower classes socialized. Artisans such as authors, painters, musicians, and poets would gather to discuss politics and exchange ideas. A nightclub scene is shown in the painting Dance at the Moulin Rouge, which was painted in 1892. In the foreground of the work there is a woman in pink looking down. Her figure leads the eyes around her to the dancer in the middle ground of the painting. The eyes then scan over the rest of the room filled with men in suits, and in the back you can just see a bartender. Color is expertly used by Toulouse-Lautrec, having a path of pinks and reds for the eyes to follow, beginning with the woman in the pink, moving to the woman in the middle, and eventually finding the woman in the back with a red dress and orange hair. This work is balanced out with the two women having spaces to surround them. The painting Dance at the Moulin Rouge is post-impressionist art. It has the quick strokes, spontaneous view, unaware subjects, focus on light, and slight proportional inaccuracies of Impressionism, but it brings back contour outlines, distinctive figures, and planned-out balanced scenes. Toulouse-Lautrec has learned from the Impressionists the importance of color and light, but he uses it for his own purposes to draw attention to his subjects. Rousse, 1889. Rousse, which means red or red-haired in French, shows the back of a semi-nude woman who is seated facing away from the viewer in a bathroom surrounded by beige and gray objects. It appears to be painted in a hasty fashion with very obvious brushstrokes. However, the balance of the frame and careful attention to value suggest otherwise. The figure shows realistic proportion and contoured study of light. The sketchy quality of the work shows both the linear intensity of Toulouse-Lautrec and the flowing style he received from the Impressionists. The image is completely finished with no canvas visible, unlike many of his other works. In the 1800s, with nightlife culture, there were also plenty of women working in the industry of prostitution and popularity. In this time, prostitution was very prominent in the lower classes, being a more favorable job option for women as opposed to factory work or domestic chores. He portrayed the woman in Rousse, who is a prostitute doing a simple task. He showed this woman without any extra glamour, in a truthful way, unlike the Impressionist style, which has no underlying meaning. He depicts the woman by showing her in her most vulnerable form, painting her arms thin and delicate. He showed the common life beneath the powder and gas. Toulouse-Lautrec's Rosé is a post-impressionist work of art. Most of Toulouse-Lautrec's works had the tactile texture created by using and layering large amounts of oils. They also had scenes that appear at first glance to be unplanned, as they show seemingly unposed figures and cut off many objects on the edge of the view. The majority also have no moral, political, or religious value and are created simply for aesthetics. Unlike Impressionist art, which is spontaneous, Rosé is a balanced work, with many forms, including his subject in the foreground. The piece also lacks the section of blank canvas found in many Impressionist works. It is well balanced, with proportion, a definite color scheme, and planning. The figure also showcases Toulouse-Lautrec's mark-making technique and shows a lot of detail. The combined works of Toulouse-Lautrec show both the impression and the truth of entertainment in the 19th century Paris. Side Saddle shows the illusion of beauty created by people of the time. The woman and the horse appear beautiful from afar, however, upon closer inspection they are disproportionate. Night at the Moulin Rouge shows the pure chaos and mystery of the dancers, but suggests low-class people are hiding behind the veil of mystery. Rousse shows the truth of entertainment and the vulnerability of the system. And that's all you need to know for now about Toulouse-Lautrec and his sect of post-impression.